Good morning. Good morning. That sounds like an energetic choir this morning. It's amazing what an extra hour of sleep will do for your spirits. Yeah? Yeah. I thought it was kind of interesting that the time change happened when we were talking about generosity. So welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor. I'm Reverend Drew Moeller, and it's a pleasure to have you joining us, whether you are here in the sanctuary or whether you are joining us online through the wonders of Zoom. It is great to have you with us today. We'll notice that there's a few less young people in the sanctuary this morning. Because they are on a field trip up to the Wabanaki gardens to help them prepare their greenhouses and whatnot for the winter time. So it sounds like a really fun activity. I'm sure we all wish we could be there putting our fingers into the soil this morning. Before we get started, we do have some announcements, so I'm going to invite Lori Cartier to come forward and bring our morning's announcements. What's going on, Lori?
Good morning. So, despite having been announced differently, this week is the first Sunday of the month, not the second Sunday of the month. Last Sunday was a fifth Sunday, so it makes it feel weird. So there will not be chimes and food collection today. That will happen next week. We will also have drumming next week because we do that on the second and fourth Sundays. So just want you to be sure you're clear on all of that. The Shore group will be meeting today at 11:30 in the cafe downstairs. The UUA Common Read book is in, and if you would like a book and like to join us with that, come on down and pick up your book. The fall cleanup will take place on Saturday, November 18th from 8 a.m. to noon. And so come help with that fun project of making everything just look spiffy inside and out. So now let me see. The Thanksgiving Day, there is going to be a meal here at church. And I think someone, Pat, is providing the turkey, but all of the trimmings could be brought along with you, and we welcome all of you, whether you bring anything or not. But if you want to sign up, the sign-up sheet is in by the kitchen door. I'm sorry? Okay. Okay. So let me see. Raffle. The raffle is started, and you can pick up your tickets right outside in the Dorothy when you go for fellowship. Next week, there will be, Carrie O'Brien will be here to sign you up for how many wreaths you would like to have this year. They're trying to get a good count before they order a bunch, so be sure and think about how many wreaths you need, and then you can sign up with Carrie for that. And this week, if you didn't already know, Tuesday we vote. So get out there and do your patriotic duty that we must get all these things voted for. And so get out the vote. And if you know somebody who isn't here, please share these announcements with them. All right, let me see. I think, what do we have? The introit. Yes. Our chalice lighting this morning is a call and response. It's going to be on your screen, and so the response is, "You are beloved and you are welcome here." So let's practice that. You are beloved and you are welcome here. Very good. So I'll just kind of go like this when it's your turn. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this week or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment, you are beloved and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, we light our chalice in the spirit of worship together. Blessed be. And thank you to Joni Ellis for lighting our chalice this morning. Our opening hymn this morning is number 21 in your gray hymnal, "For the Beauty of the Earth." All right, so everyone young and young at heart is welcome to come forward while Reverend Drew does the story for all ages this morning.
That's all right, because I know all of you, and I know, or many of you, I should say, and many of you are very young at heart. So that can be Pat. You have the whole rug to yourself. This is kind of nice. Yeah. So- oh, look at this. People are so wonderful. I love it. So, our story today comes from Japan, and it's an old wisdom story that comes out of the Zen Buddhist tradition. It seems that many, many years ago, there was a village in a remote part of Japan that was well known throughout the land because of its monastery and the abbot that taught there, who was very wise. The problem is that the monastery had fallen on kind of difficult times with not a lot of income and more students coming. And so the monastery was run down, it was falling apart, it needed a lot of repairs. And they had no place to accommodate all the people who were coming to study there. So the word went out to the town and the neighboring towns that some help was needed to be able to refurbish, repair, and fix this monastery and build expanded accommodations, more accommodations for people to be able to stay in. Finally, after a little bit of a while and some nervousness, a very wealthy merchant stepped forward and said, I will fund all the repairs, all the fixing up, all the cleaning, and building new, very nice accommodations for the new students who were showing up. So all this work was done, and there was great joy and celebration. And at the reopening ceremony, the abbot and this wealthy merchant were standing side by side, and they had a little conversation. The merchant leaned over to the abbot and said, "Oh, this is so wonderful. This is beautiful. We did everything that we set out to do. Isn't this a really, really, really nice thing that has been done here?" And the abbot replied, "Aye." The merchant said, I gave a lot to make sure that this all happened. This is and the amount that I gave was worth more than maybe 5 of our most skilled laborers in our village. More than they would make in a year. That's a lot of money. And the abbot replied, "Aye." So the merchant was starting to get a little frustrated because the merchant was looking for something, right? The merchant was looking for something. And so the merchant tried to think and figure out a way to ask for what the merchant wanted. And the merchant finally said, I've given a lot of money to the community, but this project in particular is way more than I have given to any project in our community. And the abbot replied. So finally, the merchant just had enough. And he said, of all the places I have given and given money to help support the community and stuff like that, this is the only place where I feel like I haven't been thanked. And the abbot said, so you want to be thanked? And the merchant said, hello, yeah. And the abbot paused for a moment and turned and looked right at the merchant in his eye and said, but isn't it the giver who should be thankful? And turned and went about his business. So, what's that story about? That's a really interesting twist, right? Because usually we're taught that when somebody is generous, someone is kind, someone gives something or whatnot, that good manners say that we should what? thank them, right? Send them a card, or when you bump into them, say, "Oh, thank you for that wonderful gift." So why would the abbot not thank this merchant directly? And what was the abbot trying to teach this merchant? It's a teaching story. It's a Zen story, so it's, you might have to scratch your head a little bit. Yeah?
Generosity is the gift. So you're
Yeah.
be thankful to you, the fact that you have enough to give.
There you go. And to give freely, right? No strings attached, right? And how many of us, when we're able to offer a gift or help somebody in some way, or sing a song that moves them, or help somebody in the door or whatever, what does that feel like inside? What does that feel like? Anyway?
Feels all warm and fuzzy.
That feels warm and fuzzy, yeah. So part of what this abbot was trying to teach, perhaps, is to pay attention to that feeling, right? Because that, when we have warm and fuzzy feelings, do we like warm and fuzzy feelings? I think most people do, yeah? So being able to hold on to that within, but not expecting that somebody is going to have to verify that what we did was well. When something is done that's generous, we know it's generous, we know it's kind, we know it's a good thing.
He may have been thinking about the fact that it's actually a privilege to be able to.
It's actually a privilege, right? It's actually a privilege to be able to help somebody or to give in some way, right? And it's not just, in this case, it was talking about money, but there's a lot of ways that we give to each other, right? So that's the lesson today. And so, young people, when you go home, be mindful that I'm not telling you that you shouldn't thank people, right? Because you're going to tell your parents, "Oh, Reverend Drew said it's the giver who should be thankful," right? So remember that it's still good to thank people or whatnot, but also remember to pause for a moment when we do something for somebody and just feel that sense of whatever comes to you and notice that, because noticing that will help us remember to continue to be gracious to others and cultivate and learn that skill so that we can be generous more often and kinder more often in our lives. So that's our story. Thank you. And we'll sing "Stay Now in Peace" for our young people who joined us this morning.
Stay now in peace, stay now in peace. Let all light of love surround you. Everywhere, everywhere you may go. Stay now in peace, stay now in peace. Let all light of love surround you. Everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Great universal Spirit, interconnected web of which we are a part, we gather in this space to hold the joys and sorrows that are part of our lives and part of all of our lives. Today, we hold those in our midst who are struggling with illness and trying to find healing and care. We hold in our hearts the loss of a dear friend, a wonderful member of our community. We also hold in our hearts the moments of healing and returning to being in this beloved space. And we share our gratitude for some of the unsung heroes and heroines in our midst who do things like magically make our grounds look beautiful all the time. Spirit, it is such a wonderful gift to be able to come together in this time, in this place, because we know that each life tells a meaningful story, and each life holds a deep and abiding truth. By coming together and sharing our joys and sorrows with this beloved community, we grow closer to each other, and we grow closer to becoming one. Blessed be. Amen.
Now is the time for us to pass the plates for our weekly offering. I would remind you that the Share the Plate for the month of November is with LIHEAP, Penquist Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program. So please be generous in whatever way you can.
It is with gratitude that we receive this morning's offering to benefit this beloved community and to support those who need heating assistance this winter. Blessed be.
Housekeeping. Thank you. So our reading this morning is called When Giving is All We Have. It's by Alberto Rios. One river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. We give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving could have changed us. We have been better for it. We have been wounded by it. Giving has many faces. It is loud and quiet, big though small, diamond in wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and over again. Giving is first and every time hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. You gave me blue, and I gave you yellow. Together we are simple green. You gave me what you did not have, and I gave you what I had to give. Together, we made something greater from the difference. Blessed be.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed to turn. It'll be our delight till by turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be gentle, 'tis a gift to be fair, 'tis a gift to wake and breathe the morning air, and every day to walk in the path we choose. 'Tis a gift that we pray we may never lose. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed to turn. It will be our delight till by turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be loving, 'tis a gift best of all, like a quiet rain, it blesses where it falls. And if we have the gift, we will truly believe 'tis better to give than it is to receive. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed to turn. It will be our delight till by turning we come round right.
Thank you, choir, for that wonderful gift of music. Those harmonies didn't sound so simple to me. And also thank you to Rissa for serving as our pianist today. We enjoy your music. Today we celebrate All Souls Day, a time to remember our family and loved ones who have passed and recall how they have touched our lives. Well, it is important to remember our families of origin. I find that my focus at this special time of year focuses not so much on family members, though a couple of them I do, but much more on the people who showed me kindness and were part of my life's many transformations. I'm talking about the people who made me grow, the people who were kind and free with their time, the people who sat with me in some of my darkest and deepest hours, the people who opened their hearts and helped me see opportunities that I didn't see, and the people who created opportunities when there didn't seem to be any. Another name for All Souls Day is All Saints Day. And I like this in a way, not because I embrace the Christian notions of these infallible exemplars of faith, for we know that any detailed scrutiny of just about any person will reveal some inconsistencies. But why I embrace All Saints Day is because I believe that there are people in our midst who perform miracles that open the gates of possibilities when it seemed like there was no way out of no way. These were people who created miracles for us. We all have people like that. People who created miracles, maybe not in the sense of defying the laws of nature, though in some cases it might feel that way. What I'm talking about is those special people who did create miracles by their presence of generosity of spirit that transformed our lives and the lives of those around them. They were not names that you will see canonized in halls of some great church or monument, but they are names that are written on each and every one of our souls. We have all had at least one person in our lives who has been someone like that. And if not, I hope that you leave room in your life for that unlikely mentor, saint, or person to appear. Maybe it was that teacher in high school who knew you well enough to introduce you to a subject that became alive and something that you continue to have an interest in. Or maybe someone like my high school math teacher, Mr. Wheeler, who saw me struggling with geometry and said, "I know you can get this. And for me to be able to help you, you've got to ask questions." Or the friend of a family who was only very remotely related to me, who I knew as my Uncle Ed, who became my best buddy when I was really, really young and my mom returned to work. After school, I would go over to his house and we would make things with all of his tools. We made kites out of newspaper and sticks. We made pond-sized sailboats and repaired things around his house. And he had all these tools that there were no power tools, right? It was planes, it was braces and bits. It was all this really interesting stuff. Maybe one of those people in your life was someone kind of like my friend Jean, who knew that I wanted to go to seminary but was reluctant for many reasons. One of them was that it was very expensive. I'll never forget how she stopped me one Sunday after church and she shoved an envelope into my hand with a check to pay the tuition for my first class in seminary. She said, "If you don't try it, you'll never know if that is truly what you are called to do." If she hadn't encouraged me in that way, I might still be working for a sailcloth manufacturer down in Connecticut. In recalling these saints, I am reminded what made them unique or dear to us was their generosity, the generosity that guided them. It was because of their generosity and their willingness to share their time liberally, their presence, their kindness, that made a difference. They gave freely, no strings attached. They shared and gave because that is what they did. Maybe not all the time, but they did in that moment. And in that moment, we both were blessed. These are just a few sacred moments, these are just a few of the sacred moments when I felt overwhelmed by generosity. What is strange to me is that our Unitarian Universalist statement of values, our principles and purposes, there is no mention of generosity anywhere. I did a quick search through the hymnal for wisdom, and it mentioned wisdom 44 times. Then I did a search for generosity, and not one match appeared. Then I looked at our bylaws and even our congregational covenant, and there is no mention of the noble virtue of generosity anywhere. Generosity is wisdom of the heart. It helps us create openness and moves the human spirit into a place of abundance and seeing possibility in a way that rationality and logic often lack. The fact that generosity does not show up in our principles and our hymns or even our covenant is surprising to my mind, because generosity is like water to the soul. One river gives the journey to the next, echoes the reading from Alberto Rios. Our generosity feeds each other. Generosity is a value that permeates our congregational life, though. Giving freely is a powerful human trait that is both affirming the inherent worth and dignity of others as well as ourselves. Like other virtuous traits, it requires attention and it requires cultivation. One of the many challenges of our increasingly complex world is that people struggle to find ways to be generous. It's not always easy to figure out what gifts we have and where to give them. It is easy, or that is one of the reasons why I think our UU congregations are so special. We are a place where people can be incredibly generous. People here give their time and their talents in abundance. Without generosity of voices, we wouldn't have that wonderful harmony in our choir. Without committees, we could only do a fraction of what we do with the small staff that we have. Without volunteer teachers and mentors for our young people, our kids wouldn't have the rich spiritual exploration experience that helped them to grow into being beautiful and thoughtful young adults. Without caring members of our pastoral care team, people wouldn't know when people are going through hard times and need cars or meals delivered. It's the generous gifts of pledges by members and friends that pay our bills. Generosity of many of our deceased members who gave money that fuels our endowments, that care for this building, and send our children to Ferry Beach Retreat in the summertime. It's generosity of our guests and members that support our Share the Plate on Sunday mornings, that help other organizations in our community that are doing good work. Just last month alone, we collected $487 for the Bangor Area Recovery Network. That's cool. All of this is flattering, but it still boggles my mind that generosity is not a named and articulated value of our faith. Now, don't get me wrong, generosity is there. It's hidden, or at least till now. As many of you know, as a liberal religious faith tradition, we are required by our UUA bylaws to review our UU principles and purposes, also known as Article 2 of the bylaws, every 10 years. We do this to see if our principles and purposes continue to call us into a living tradition that is relevant and evolving to our time. In religion, this is revolutionary. Right now, we are in the midst of that cycle of review. After several years of review, the Article 2 Commission of the UUA is proposing changes to Article 2 that will be voted on at next year's General Assembly. Instead of tweaking the wording of our current principles, they have proposed new principles for Article 2 in our bylaws. Instead of listing our 7 UU principles, or 8 because our congregation has adopted the 8th UU principle on anti-racism, anti-oppression, and showing up for working for change. But not all congregations have done that. The new proposed principles tie into each other in a kind of an interesting way, and over the course of this year, I will be preaching on each one of these different new proposed values. But I'm going to just summarize them right here. The values that are being proposed for us to live into are interdependence, equality, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. Generosity, the wording in the proposed bylaw change is generosity. We cultivate the spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Like many of you, I feel a very intimate connection with our current UU principles. Yet I'm excited about this calling into our awareness the power of generosity, which is infused, I think, in just about every aspect of our UU culture. Naming it creates transparency. It helps guide us into thinking about the decisions that we make and how to create openness and abundance and not hinder it. Generosity is not about being large and boastful. It is not about being timid or small, but it's about being present, in tune, thoughtful, and engaged. It's about giving from the heart, because when we give from the heart, along with our heads, we learn from wisdom, the wisdom of our opening story, that when all is said and done, it is the giver of generosity who should be thankful. Generosity is a gift of its own. May we continue to celebrate that gift with others so that when our time comes to leave this world, we will be remembered, not just for our relationship to our families or family systems, but also for being one of those special people who touched many with heart and head and soul. Blessed be. Amen. Let us join in singing our closing hymn, 128, For All That Is Our Life.
And make our own days glad.
As we extinguish our Unitarian Universalist chalice flame, symbol of faith, hope, love, and our generosity towards ourselves and each other, let us be reminded that although our time of worship has come to an end, our time of service to the world has just begun. Nice. I invite you now all to join in singing our benediction.